incomplete.
Oh, good.
Welcome back, 9 to noon. Something we do periodically here, specifically during training camp. We love our favorite team, but it's good to catch up. There's 31 others that are out there. Similar to Vikes Bites, although there's no real need to yell it, but might as well. Camp cuts!
Camp cuts, Vikes Bites.
Neon lights. I have some audio and some clippings from other teams throughout the NFL, and just sparking some NFL-wide conversation. I found this. I'm going to start here. A reporter. Well, let's pause the music first. Massive production issues.
Did I record the Browns and Eagles promo over that one too? Sorry.
Stefon Diggs, now with the Houston Texans. He's no longer a member of the Bills organization. You all know that. A reporter asked Josh Allen, hey, you miss him?
At any point during camp, have you missed Stefon?
I think Steph's a great player, and what he brought to this team was special. So miss is I don't know if I'd say miss. He was a guy that was reliable. You can look to. He's going to have the juice each and every day. I'm sure he's bringing it over there in Houston. So definitely, you can't say that you don't miss that. But I am very happy with what we got going on here and how hard the guys have been working. And
So that's his reaction. I thought he handled it quite well.
He doesn't miss him a lick.
No, he does not miss him at all. Now, as part of that preseason game, this is. I wonder if this is an actual trend, PA, and not that we've taken note of every game thus far.
Yeah.
But the combination of a lot of rookie QBs out there, so a lot of ones getting more reps. Teams like the Raiders, maybe the defensive coach philosophy. We've heard both Antonio Pierce. We saw it from Pierce with Crosby and Christian Wilkins and those of that ilk playing. D'Amico Ryan said he was going to play his guys in a preseason game against the Steelers. But the ones for the Bills were out there over the weekend against the Chicago Bears as well. And Josh Allen, 2 of 3. Then he tried to run, and probably the coach is like, no, we're done. I don't want Josh Allen to get out there and actually start running. But Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, he cannot miss Stefon Diggs. There's no doubt about it. But Andy Isabella, remember that name?
Oh, yeah.
And coming out, and I think he ended up with the Cardinals. Now he's in Buffalo.
Yeah, he was like from UMass or Temple or something. He was super fast and scrappy, and I loved him for a hot tick.
Yeah, I think he did. I think he was UMass. And then Keon Coleman, they draft him. We've talked about it before, PA. 241 targets, I believe, is what they're trying to replace without Gabe Davis and without Stefon Diggs, even though it was very limited in terms of our visual and our ability to peek into what they have. You're safe to say maybe you don't miss him off the field or in the locker room, but they might miss Stefon on the field when it comes to that passing offense.
Yeah, and Houston is just so glitzy and shiny with Diggs and with Danielle Hunter. Houston, in the estimation of many, is sitting on a big one. What about Buffalo? I mean, it loses those two. And the running game never has been super identifiable with the Bills anyway, unless like Devin Singletary's going 4-1 against the Vikings in the first and second quarter 2022. They like Dalvin's younger brother. They'll run play action off him. Their tight ends are nice, but really that's just like what is formulated on the field. What about what the unity is so very important in not only in life, but in a physical, violent game like football, to have a unified locker room that lacks diva appeal. That's what I think was, one of the underrated facets of Justin Jefferson on the broadcast in the third quarter. Not every receiver is going to act the way Justin acted, which was authentic, which is real, which was unto JJ. That's just who he is. And despite the statistical equity earned and or the money earned, he's a humble, non-diva type guy. A couple of things that we didn't get into because it was just an energy trip. I wanted to talk about receiver, and we didn't get to that. But also just how impressively he handled his business when it came to getting his new deal. Because like CeeDee Lamb, who's not at Cowboys camp, he gets cryptic on Twitter. Brandon Ayuk's all about being cryptic on social media. And so many receivers, including Diggs, Diggs basically talked his way out of here when they traded him to Buffalo for a pick they ended up using on Jefferson. Well, Justin did not handle his business that way. And that leads to unity. And maybe Buffalo has a form of unity now it did not have when it kept coming up short. Only time will tell, Davey.
Camp cuts. This is Nick Saban via Hard Knocks. He spent some time in Chicago with the Bears, and he's talking to Mr. Eberflus, head coach of the Bears, about the tough part of developing a QB because of the expectations that unavoidably exist.
Here's my theory on why NFL quarterbacks fail at such a dramatic rate. To me, expectations are a killer. This kid's got so much media, so much hype, so much expectation on doing well. And he has to develop so quickly to meet the expectations that everybody has for him. It's almost impossible.
And there was more audio from Nick Saban on that, but earlier you were touching on Caleb Williams, and I mean there's no hyperbole here. He looked fantastic in his debut against the Bills. And ultimately, it's not like he threw 30 passes. I think it was like 4 or 5, had about 100 yards, did some running as well, had a sweet scramble to move the chains. But the throws look legit. He looks like an NFL player, almost threw a pick, I will say that. But Caleb Williams had a terrific debut. So the weeping and gnashing of teeth that were taking place in training camp appear to be for naught. And he just has to go out there and do it again and again and again. And the number 1 overall pick looks like the number 1 overall pick. But, we've talked about it in other areas. Some of these, you mentioned the Slovis, what is it? Keaton Slovis? Keaton Slovis. And, or I was obsessed with some FAU cat. I forget what his name was, but he ended up going to the Jets and he languished. And now I don't even know if he's in the league. But where these guys get picked, where they go, there are so many different things that can alter, potentially build up, or potentially break down the development process. But given that 6 guys were selected in the top 12, the expectations on all 6 have never been higher. And whether that's fair or not, Caleb in Chicago has to deal with that. To an extent, our guy, even with Darnold probably starting the season, our guy has to deal with that. The expectations, according to Saban, appear to be the killer of killers when it comes to why QBs wash out after being so highly touted from college.
Well, the NFL is strange, all right? And I really respect Nick Saban. He's one of the great college football coaches in the history of said level. But when I say football coaches and certain constituents can be strange and almost duplicitous, almost talking out of both sides of the mouth. And this ties into the quarterback thing that you just shared via the former Crimson Tide coach. It is when a team has massive expectations put on it, coaches are uncomfortable with that because they get worried everybody's going to buy into the hype. Yet when they fly under the radar and they feel like they have good skill players and they feel like they have a lot of speed, well, behind the scenes, they get frustrated and they cuss that like nobody's talking about them. It's the dichotomy of the balance that they have that those in the game have to balance everything and just compartmentalize everything. It's quite difficult. And that plays into expectations for young quarterbacks. Because if you're drafted where those 6 were drafted, well, the expectations are high, but it doesn't mean that they have to be they have to be 10 of 10 high right now by the individual or the coaching staff. The fans have to go to the side for a second. And if players are buying into positively or negatively what they are seeing on social media from people they'll never meet, well, that's on them and shame on them. So from an expectation standpoint, like that's one of several things that I really, really appreciate, respect, and enjoy about the Michigan rookie, J.J. McCarthy, is I can't say that he was told when he got here, look, you're most likely not going to start at the Giants, but we have to go through A, B, C, D, and E. I think McCarthy understands that he's probably not going to start the first game of the year. In fact, I'd put it at below 5%, but I'm just guessing. and he might not even play in the next one or the next one or the next one. That's why when including on this radio station, that people would just construct it the way they absolutely feel it should go because of where McCarthy was taken, without any steam or any conversations with those who know more about it, or really even watching the practices, but just following social media and some of these ancillary .coms. It continued to, it doesn't happen anymore, but I was shocked when I kept hearing, well, he's going to start by October. Yeah, he'll probably start with that game at Lambeau. When they go to London, that might be the time. No, that's not the time. And if it is the time, it will be the time. But there's no need to guess simply because of what people want so badly that we have to have this at this time. Look at how the first two quarterbacks played Saturday. Darnold did everything he was asked to do and did it well. McCarthy bounced back from an L, and my favorite J.J. McCarthy throw in that game was a left sideline throw to Tristan Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
Where it just, in looking back at it, it seems to me that the rookie Walter Rouse did not get off his double team soon enough to get the linebacker because Wanwu picked up his guy. You could just tell where his eyes were and where he went. He got his guy. But the rookie Rouse, who's still learning, he stayed doubled on 79, in my estimation, way too long. And he didn't get off, and JJ took a straight dart hit. But before it, he unfurled it. He wasn't afraid of it, and the arm strength was in play. I mean, it was a bullet to Jackson, and McCarthy got killed on the play. So that's all part of it. That's all those little morsels and crumbs. Those are all things that we can put together in as fans preparing, what we think will be a terrific meal one day, but that one day does not have to be the next day. And if you're mature and if you're raised the way J.J. McCarthy is, then you probably know, I probably ain't going to start here. And I might not even start until here. And I'm cool with that because he still has a lot to learn.
Camp cuts. No audio here, but just a news article. We're talking about joint practices, the value of them. Antonio Pierce doesn't have them. Vikings do have them this week against the Cleveland Browns. Well, how about the Niners having to cancel their joint practices, PA? Injuries are mounting, this via ESPN. The Niners have made significant adjustment to their preseason schedule, announcing Sunday they've canceled their planned joint practices with the New Orleans Saints. They mutually agreed, et cetera, et cetera. Those joint sessions had been slated to take place in Irvine, California, where the Saints have been training. A source told ESPN the driving force behind the decision, numerous injuries that have plagued the Niners during camp. When the Niners practiced Thursday, a whopping 23 players did not take part for various reasons. An injury hit again in their preseason opener against the Titans. You mentioned you watched some of that game, not that you were watching for this, but corner Ambry Thomas broke his hand. They got McCaffrey with a calf, Fred Warner with a foot. They got a guard, Ricky Pearsall's out with a shoulder. They have Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk holding out and holding in.
Wow. That's right, the left tackle. I forgot about him.
The team's so good. It's super special Shanny. The offense almost feels like it's push button at times. Purdy, this, that, and the other thing. They are hitting the news for all the wrong reasons over the last month and a half, PA.
Right. And Brock Purdy still needs to improve.
Yeah.
Okay, Brock Purdy's a fine quarterback. He's a fine quarterback. Can I say he's one of the best? I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in the NFL? I can't say that. The system is one of the best 2 or 3 in the NFL, and he executes it perfectly. But for those of you supporting teams in the NFC North, whether you are us and the vast and ever-expanding Minnesota Vikings fan base covenant, or if you are Double B, Brett Blakemore and Super Special Cinny and or Cotton John with the green and gold, or if you are a devotee of the Bears, like Wobble, or if you are like my friend Jason Hatch, the biggest Lions fan that I've ever met and lives in Minnesota. Well, all of this 49ers news, it should be encouraging. I mean, Brandon, continue to hold out. Go ahead and get traded. Trent, ask for more. And in fact, ask for it delivered in $20 bills and envelopes. Just go ahead and make life for the Niners as difficult as possible.
Please do.
Because once they get squared away, that's a badass football team. That's a bad bleep football team up in there. and we get them week number 2.
Camp Cuts, you mentioned the safety in the Chiefs-Jaguars game. So what had happened is Mecole Hardman, when the ball hits in the end zone, that's it, PA. You know that, and that's why the ball's just bouncing around open in the end zone. Everyone just kind of jogs off. It's a touchback.
Yeah.
Now,
That's not the case, right?
When the ball hits in the end zone, it's a live ball.
Oh, geez.
So if it stays in the end zone, of course, you can track it down and kneel on it, and then it's all good.
There has to be a rule also that only 2 people can be back, right? Because when I was watching that Titans return by 5, who probably won't make the team, and I can never remember his name. I'm glad you looked it up. It was a 63-yard return. There were 2 guys back there, and they both came up full run.
They did, okay.
And 5 caught it. So there has to be a rule, maximum of 2 players back there, because then I'm pushing the envelope and getting sneaky and putting 4 back there.
Well, I wonder, so...
I'm like putting C.J. Ham in front of both of them because he can block, and then I'm putting Josh Oliver in front of the other guy because he can block. And if you're telling me I get 4 guys full run, I got an advantage. So it just sounds too good to be true.
Yeah, I think you have to have 7 guys that are on that line.
Of course you do.
So then you have, and then they have what I've seen multiple times is 2 guys standing maybe a couple of yards behind them.
Yeah.
And then you have what most teams have done is 2 returners. I wonder if the more you pull back, potentially that gives the other team the advantage in setting up their blocks. I don't know. But he pulled the ball because it hit the end zone and it bounced out to like the 1 or 2. He pulled the ball back into the end zone, knelt on it.
Safety.
That's a safety now. So now we can all rest knowing that we got the rules down pat with the new kickoff bit. Camp Cuts. Here's Mike Tomlin talking about the QB competition. Is it a competition, Mike?
Would you still categorize this as a quarterback competition? If it is, how do you weight what happens on the practice field here versus what happens in the stadium?
Very much is a competition. What happens in stadium is weighted heavier than what happens in a practice setting because it's more game-like.
And so Mike Tomlin talking about it is a quarterback competition. And you didn't see Russell Wilson in their opener against the Houston Texans. Fields 5 of 6 for 67 yards. So that's what? That's 11 yards per attempt. But the issue there is Justin Fields had to, he fumbled twice. I think he recovered one of them himself. So the fumbling related issues, what are you getting out of that offense? This is a team that absolutely needs to find finality and get the right answer at the quarterback spot for the Pittsburgh Steelers as they enter things and get closer to camp. Camp Cuts! Jerry Jones correcting himself as he continues on. Speaking of melodrama, it's not just out in the Bay, it's down in Big D as well with CeeDee Lamb.
I think I got in trouble a little the other day when I said, look, we're not urgent about CD. Well, no one appreciates CD being on the field any more than I do. But let me say this, he wouldn't be taking a snap out here today if he'd been here for you got to use your head when you expose key players. That gives the other younger players a chance to do it. We know exactly what CD can do, and he worked out with Dak. And so we wouldn't have him out here. It has really not anything to do with his contract.
I mean, you want to talk about sweating things, and Jerry Jones is never going to get in front of a microphone and start saying, yeah, this is a massive issue. I'm super worried about it. Jerry Jones has been pretty consistent in terms of how he's framed this thing up. There is no urgency. Obviously, Jerry Jones wants CeeDee Lamb on the field. The tough thing about it for him, though, is he's got to figure out how to pay him, and we're getting closer to a time in which CeeDee Lamb not being on the field will be an intense issue for Jerry Jones's Cowboys.
So the way we discussed the 49ers, if I were to say, does it feel like the 49ers are sitting on a bad one? I think the answer would be no, right?
Overall, no. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, doesn't it just feel like the Cowboys are sitting on a bad one?
Absolutely.
I mean, it was like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, what are we trying to do here? Are we trying to get McCarthy out during the season into the Falcons game so you can just use Zimmer as the interim into the game against Cousins to try to get fans engaged again? And then Sante Samuel, former cornerback for the New England Patriots, well, he came out with a grandiose prediction that Bill Belichick will coach the Cowboys in 2025. So if you're McCarthy, and it's just so crazy, and there's absolutely an agenda, which I don't know what it is, But, I mean, Micah Parsons, Dak Prescott, and CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
I mean, they've picked fights with their most important 3 players on the team. Who in the hell does that?
Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. 1 or 2 more camp cuts for you here, PA. Zach Ertz, here he is talking about quarterbacks being, and we're going to get into Bo Nix, I believe, next segment. But Zach Ertz talking about Jaden McDaniels.
I think Jaden is going to be, a lot of times you talk about rookies, it's like this guy's going to be really good. And that's not, Jaden is good now. And so with him and me, it's really just talking a lot. We got some reps in the offseason in the OTAs. We're getting more now. But it's really, we're also, whatever rep we have, whether I get the ball or don't get the ball, I want him to understand how I see things. But at the end of the day, it's really what he sees. And I'm trying to learn his perspective because I can have all these ideas in one mind, but if the timing's wrong or if he sees it differently, it really doesn't matter. So I got to be able to play on his timing, play on his speed, and obviously get open. But being able to be in his ear, this is what I've seen, this is why I did this, this is how we had to play in practice against one coverage. Hey, this is how I'm going to run against this, but also if they do something else, I'm going to change the route just a little bit. And so it's not only the physical help, but I would say the mental, the talking, and just giving them confidence that, hey, I've been in this offense before, I can play fast, I can help the other guys, so you just do what you need to do. I can help everyone else.
That's Zach Ertz talking about Jaden Daniels, and I got to stop saying Jaden McDaniels. Jaden Daniels.
I've done that too. And I called him Jalen once.
He was 2 of 3 for 45 yards, and he had a nice, mostly wide open deep pass, but it was a terrific ball on his part, and he had a quick scramble as well. Just 1 for 3 yards there, but this is kind of becoming the common theme, and we'll get to Bo Nix's side of this conversation too. Is whatever expectations, the Nick Saban audio and all of that, these rookie quarterbacks for the most part, and Drake May, it's still tough to tell. He only got 1 series in that opener for New England. All these guys have looked good in preseason. All these guys have, in their debuts, turned people's heads in a very positive light, and I've seen nothing but positivity and excitement after the Commanders in the preseason game. A limited look, but a very positive one for most people that saw Jaden Daniels on Saturday.
And same with Bo Nix. The quarterback rotation for the Denver Broncos went Bo Nix into Zach Wilson into Jarrett Stidham. Now, that necessarily was not the case during a majority of training camp practices from what I followed and read. And with the approach Sean Payton took with Bo Nix, there was an agenda. An agenda was Sean Payton. Shocker. But this one was lined up to benefit Bo Nix.
Yeah.
And I watched all of his snaps yesterday. Let's chat about that when we return to 9 to noon at FM 100.3 KFAN. As shared earlier, 9 to noon with these rookie quarterbacks, in watching Caleb Williams 20 snaps, there was a lot that was good. I mean, I came into it being like, all right, so you're new. You can't have a swivel. I mean, you might have a swivel, but unfurling the swivel at this level in your very first game is probably not going to happen. Or maybe Justin Fields, before he left, stole your swivel, but then I recognized he never had a swivel.
I always love that one.
The old field scanner. Not a problem with Caleb. No, he had a play inside the 30 where he kept his eyes on a safety to hold the safety. Then he swung right and hit somebody. It was pretty nice. We talked about the bootleg to the right where he set up a defensive end. Then Caleb put the pedal to the metal, and the defensive end was so flummoxed he just fell.
I always love that one.
My man just clomped. He toppled. He fell.
I always love that one.
Big man falling, though. And my favorite Caleb Williams moment was when he had everything that is of the Buffalo Bill variety up on him. Caleb stayed straight in the pocket, kept his eyes on DeAndre Swift, and it was a nifty little flip to Swift, who played like 2 plays, but one of them was a 42-yard reception, and Caleb unfurled a master class in poise. So that was Caleb Williams. Then there's Bo Nix. The quarterback Sean Payton said is the one he wanted all along. The one he wanted all along. Bo Nix, quite honestly, there were plays in this game for Bo Nix that had him looking like a cross between John Elway and Brick Osweiler.
I always love that one.
Brick Osweiler, copyright charge, in his debut at Indianapolis. And here's what we mean. Bo Nix moved around and made the Colts pay. And he also threw some bricks that could have been picked or just were like, when you watch it, you see something good and you're excited, and then he goes Brick Osweiler on the bit for a couple of plays, and you're like, hey.
I always love that one.
Where'd that come from? It came from the amateur level to the professional level, and it's different, and they hit harder, and they're faster, and the schemes are different even in the preseason. Bo Nix, like with Caleb, in taking in all of the snaps, it's so easy this time of the year when it's like 40 to 60 snaps or so. There's just not a ton that you're required to watch. So it makes it easier, at least as the schedules go. I thought Bo Nix looked good. Lots of tight end and running back plug-in stuff, but he handled it. And I liked what I saw in the Oregon product. Now, but Bo Nix, it's if and or when I say that Bo Nix and J.J. McCarthy forever are in a roundabout way going to be tied to each other, simply because 6 quarterbacks go in the top 12, our guy goes 10, and their guy goes 12. So he goes 12th, McCarthy 10th, and it just seems they forever will be linked because of the way the first round went. And be mindful of this because it matters, all right? Nix in college had 1,936 attempts at Auburn and Oregon. McCarthy, in his 3 years at Michigan, had 713 attempts.
Oh my gosh. Above average.
I mean, that's not even half. So just keep that in mind from a contextualizing standpoint. And another point between the two, Nix turns 25 years of age in February, McCarthy 22 in January. And they with McCarthy, they have and are working hard on his changeup. And likewise for Nix, there's certain things about certain quarterbacks that you may not hear. So working with JJ's touch and the way Kevin O'Connell talks about his feet, it's when O'Connell's glancing at McCarthy's feet, it's not Rex Ryan-esque.
I always love that one.
But he's very interested in those feet and the touch, and subsequently everything comes with it. Same thing with Bo Nix, where they undoubtedly are working on his touch, and that was apparent in the victory over Indianapolis, where I think Bo may have led the Broncos on 4 scoring drives. But we did have, if you watch all the plays, if you watch all of his snaps, we had some bad overthrows. He had one that he threw 100 miles per hour that was like 8 feet away from him, and it bounced between the numbers and was incomplete. Like with Caleb Williams, threw it right to a linebacker or a safety. My man should have caught it, but he didn't. He dropped it. Well, that happened to Nix too. McCarthy's was caught for an interception. So, like we mentioned earlier, the interception obviously was not preferred by McCarthy, but what about the bounce back and properly executing when O'Connell gives you some deep shots against some of the problematic backups the Raiders seem to be employing these days? But, my favorite play with McCarthy, as I said last segment, it wasn't a touchdown. It was a long first down hit traveling to the east side of US Bank Stadium and hitting Tristan Jackson on the Raiders side of the equation. Because it's either the running back missed his guy and went to the wrong guy, and I don't find that to be accurate, or the rookie right tackle, Walter Rouse, stayed doubled on 79 too long and didn't get off his guy. Here comes 56 or 58. This linebacker for the Raiders, like a shot, just flying in there And McCarthy took a big hit, all right? And he knew it was coming. And his innate ability to sense and feel pressure, it's a hockey thing if you talk to him about it and how he gets away from it. There was nothing he could do there. So he stayed in the pocket, knowing he was going to get hit. When you get hit, it hurts. And when you fall to the ground, it hurts more, specifically with a beefeater falling on you. So what did the kid do? He kept his eyes on the read he felt would be there, fired a fastball between the hash marks, but to the left boundary, strong arm throw, big boy stuff, and he took the hit and completed the pass for a first down. Though those are preseason steps that need to be recognized. That's, not trying to be Vince Lombardi here and go into meeting rooms where I've never been in a meeting room with coaches and or players, like, when they're getting after it. But I would imagine that when they're watching this thing back, Josh McCown and Sam Darnold, Jaron Hall, Nick Mullins, they all might have looked at Wes Phillips, the offensive coordinator, Kevin O'Connell, the head coach. After that play, they might all have looked at McCarthy and been like, whoa, he's JJ. And a wry, innocent smile could emerge on the countenance of the Michigan rookie. So the Jackson touchdown with JJ on the mic, that was sweet. The Trent Sherfield senior touchdown on a potential busted coverage, well, that was sweet because touchdowns are cool, man. But for my taste, knowing the guy's coming at you, not processing who made the mistake and why, because that's not the time, but knowing your guy's going to be there against some L's in the Raiders secondary and standing there with the guy running at you, he plows you, but you get off the pass first and it's completed and it's a long one. So that, for me, as part of the bounce back off the interception, that was my favorite J.J. McCarthy throw of the entire game. It's 9 to noon. It's 11:43. We wrap it up after this. My man doing that update. He's like, well, we got Joe Ryan, with the weird arm thing. Season. If they said season, I apologize. It seemed like most likely season.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Right. So Bailey Ober, and so our top three would go in no particular order. Bailey Ober, Pablo Lopez, and
Simeon Woods Richardson at this stage.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that earlier because his last few he's gotten good. The Festa bit, I just don't know if I trust him in high leverage situations. But then again, we're not seam heads here, so we're probably wrong, even though we may not be. But the update guy, my man's like, the Twins are set to dust off highly touted prospect Zebby Matthews and start tomorrow against the Royals. Zebby Matthews, you say?
Oh my gosh!
Who's Zebby Matthews?
Well, Twins. Yes, here we go. Twins to promote Zebby Matthews.
Yeah, I mean, is okay. I mean, it's like Royce Lewis.
Let's go to the Bobby Nightingale desk here.
Well, Royce Lewis was highly touted and marooned at the single, double, triple A, high A, whatever levels for quite some time. I know there were injuries involved.
Yeah.
And then they unfurled him and he was the bomb. I mean, they're like jerseys are flying off the coat hangers, flying off the racks. And Royce has slowed down a little bit here of late, by the way. So they're probably going to need that for the final month and a half of the season. So we don't, this is not your high A podcast, follow minor league baseball leader. I must concede I've never heard of Zebby Matthews.
Well, how about this?
How touted is he?
Well,
we got like Doc Gooden up in this thing?
We might. I don't know. He's 6'5", 225 pounds. He's a righty. He's been, according to Bobby Nightingale in the Strib, one of the fastest rising prospects in the sport this year. He started the year at Class A Advanced Cedar Rapids.
Wow.
This will be his fourth promotion already this year. So he's had 18 minor league outings.
My man's on the fast track.
And his last 4 with St. Paul, he's been 2.6 ERA, 114 strikeouts, and just 7 walks in 97 innings. So apparently, Zebby Matthews. If you were just waiting to see whether it was going to be Simeon Woods Richardson or maybe Manny Margot for the Jersey,
hey,
maybe Zebby should be in the mix.
Yeah, Kevin O'Connell's on McAfee right now. Do you? We're almost done.
Should I roll on it and then?
Oh, I don't know. Can you like hit buttons on that new thing over there and we can hear it from the TV?
Well, the only thing
I'm worried that the Browns promo is going to get recorded over the O'Connell. McAfee conversation here, and it's going to take 20 minutes to figure that out.
Let's see if I can get to it. The only worry that I have is McAfee's not afraid to drop an S-bomb here and there.
Really? Even on ESPN?
On ESPN, he has before. Let's see if I can pull it up. And
how I would go about it, because we've never won a preseason game since I've been here.
This guy sucks in the preseason.
Well, okay.
So I think I was even telling AP right there, that was a hell of a football game. I'm glad to get that first win finally in the preseason. We did play some of our guys early on. That tends to help, especially.
He smiles when he talks.
Some of these preseason games,
and it's even like that during our pregame interview that we tape. It's like he smiles when he talks all the time.
He's still excited. He's not bitter yet.
Jaron Hall kind of taking the offense down the field to get some field goal range. It's really,
because he's not
kind of a situationally sound football team. It's a testament.
Wow,
Kevin O'Connell,
1 in a row, 4 KO.
1 in a row, 4 KO.
Zebby Matthews, you say?
Zebby Matthews.
The Royals are in town, and they will take on said highly touted slinger tomorrow. And as we say goodbye, before Nordo puts a wrap on the show with Zebby Matthews and the Royals, our only thought would be, we hear he has cunning and guile, but is he able to handle wit?
Thank you to Casey's for bringing you the 9 to noon show wraps. Pizza, food, and fuel rewards. Love you, Casey's. 9 to noon, no need to haw or hem. Darnold was solid. JJ's debut was a gem. Started off with an ugly pick, and that's an L. Shrugged it off and put the defense under his spell. Easy to sell. The future looks bright. Should he start week 1? Those are the texts I got last night. Still in favor of him simmering behind Sam, but when it's time to unleash him, it'll be like, damn, third quarter. It was an air attack. Third hour today, PA broke the headphone jack. And earlier, I was stuck with an on-air stressor. PA recorded his Browns promos over the KO presser, arguing preseason player usage theory as we prepare for joint practices on the shores of Lake Erie tomorrow. Live at 9, we'll talk to you again. But I mean, really, what if JJ goes out and lights it up again?
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.